All right, everybody. Welcome back to the second episode of my box office report. This is for the week of the 1st of May, Sunday, the 1st of May. I thought about putting this back out on Mondays, but I think kind of want to get ahead of the game. I want to get these out maybe more Sundays. I don't know. I'm testing some things out. If people see these videos and they even care, leave a comment down below. If you like box office style content and some conversation about that, give a subscription. This is going to be a weekly show I do where I'll break down not just the weekend box office, but I'll go over kind of the yearly box office for both the international films and the domestic films, as well as maybe in the future as I evolve this out week by week, talk about movies that are coming up and what they may be looking to do in the box office. I'm kind of, I started out last week just doing the weekends. This week I added two more slides for the worldwide totals, both domestic and internationally. And then maybe in a couple weeks or something, I'll start predicting off what the next week is going to look like. But yeah, I'm evolving this as it goes. Thank you, everybody who stopped by in the first video. If you're interested, yeah, here we go. Let's talk about the box office for this weekend. Starting off here, and we have a pretty boring weekend. I'm probably gonna go by through this a lot faster than I did last weekend because I talked about a lot of these movies a lot last weekend. So this is gonna be a lot shorter, brisker video. But there was really no big wide release movies this weekend. There's a couple. One of them was able to manage to make the top 10 in memory, but that wasn't really advertised. And Liam Neeson has kind of made the same movie so much that he's kind of typecasted himself. And as long as those movies are making their money back, whatever, but they're not going to be box office hits anymore, I believe. But I think the stories of this weekend is really going to be talking about the drop percentages of some of these movies. The bad guys come out with an amazing hold of a 32%, 33% drop, taking the weekend about 16 million total. It brings its domestic total a little bit up over 40 million. Its worldwide total is flirting with 120 million. A really good second weekend showing by the bad guys, being able to hold, again, no wide release. So your goal if you came out last weekend or the weekend before is to be within the 30 to 40 percentile, probably 30 to 40 if you were last weekend, 25 to 35 if you were the weekend before. But The Bad Guys is the animated family film that has pretty solid reviews all around. And you can check out my review of The Bad Guys in my video log list. But The Bad Guys comes in at $16,100,000 with a 33% drop, pretty much, to take the weekend number one spot. Once again, followed by the same two and third movies, which is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 coming in second, and Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore. But I do think last weekend they were a little bit closer, but this weekend we saw them separate, and that's mainly due to drop percentage. Sonic again holds very, very well. It dropped only 27.5% this weekend. People are going back to see this film. People are getting positive word of mouth to see this film, and it's able to stay above $10 million grossing for the weekend for one final time with $11 million and 355,000. That brings its domestic total just above 160 million. And as we see, its worldwide total is 323 million. It's starting to flirt and fight with Fantastic Beasts of who's going to be higher on the worldwide chart. But when their runs end, but Sonic 2 had a really strong hold. Fantastic Beasts, by the way, 40%. While that's not the best hold ever for a third weekend holdover, I think for this movie's word of mouth and all the drama that surrounded it, I actually think this is a pretty solid hold for them, coming in a little bit over $8 million, not 800 million. They wish, but $8 million negative. Like I said, about 41% drop. That brings its domestic total close to 80 million, just shy of it, and its worldwide total just shy of $330 million. Again, it's holding better than maybe I thought it would, but it comes in number 3, so we have the first 4 movies in a row, too. The next one up is going to be The Northmen. This movie had a pretty big drop, in my opinion, for having no new movie come out and having no new competition come out. I guess you can kind of think Liam Neeson is a little bit of competition in that action genre, but it dropped 48.7%, only bringing in a little bit over $6 million. That's The Northmen. again, it just highlights what I was saying, that between this movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, two movies that I'll get into here in a second, there's just too many people vying for the adult market right now, the heavy adult non-kid market, that this movie suffered and had a very big drop for a weekend with nobody else coming into the theater early to compete with it. It is about 22 million domestically, a little bit over 40 million worldwide, but this is a movie that was budgeted around 70 to 90 million dollars. Um, it needed to make somewhere in the 180 to 200 million dollars worldwide to make its money back, before it hits, rentals and stuff like that. So the Northmen is not doing well at the box office, and this big drop was not what it was needed. I said last weekend it needed to be in the low 30s to 20s to really have some legs and to show some positive force forward, and that just didn't happen with this movie. A movie, though, that it has been happening with over time, as it had a slow release model, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Comes in at about $5.5 million. I had to change how I do my charts because I was just going to drop percentages as blanket percentages because they're just going to go down. But Everything Everywhere All at Once actually gained business this weekend. It went up 2.2%, showing that a movie with very good word of mouth, very good holding pattern, something that isn't having new competition come out this weekend, it actually made more money than it did last weekend. So that domestic total now is starting to get pretty large, where before it looked like it was going to be pretty small. It's at $35 million domestically, a little bit over $38 million worldwide. I'm surprised that A24 hasn't tried releasing this in more worldwide audiences. I don't know if it could be released in China, but that'd be one market I would try to release it in. But I guess there is a same sex couple on that, so China would never take that movie. But Everything Everywhere All at Once comes in and goes from the sixth spot up to fifth. What this means, though, is we've had some movement in the top 10, finally, and Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent has dropped at least one spot. And I'll be honest, it didn't just drop one spot, it dropped two spots, because coming in at number six, moving up a couple positions, is The Lost City. It was just under $4 million. I mean, it's competing with The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. These are just projections on Sunday, but they're pretty accurate mostly. So those movies may go back and forth between who's going to be sixth and who's going to be seventh. But the big story is Lost City, in about its fourth or fifth weekend, it's only dropped 10% without having much new competition. It's starting to flirt with the idea that it might hit $100 million domestically, and it's definitely going to push over $150 worldwide. This Sandra Bullock, Channing Tatum kind of budding buddy cop romancy style comedy has been a pretty big hit for Paramount, and it able to compete slash unseat The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, another kind of comedy romance movie. Says a lot about the quality of The Lost City and the word of mouth that we've had over time. I know, for instance, I have family members who still want to see The Lost City and are talking about if it's still on theater for Mother's Day. My sister and my mom are going to go see it. So this is a movie that has legs and has had really good word of mouth, and has performed very well. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, though, again, I said the Northmen and The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, without having new competition, for the release model to be somewhat successful, they'd have to hold around 30% to 20%, and it dropped 45%, very similarly to the Northmen, only getting a little, getting close to $4 million to weekend wise. So this movie dropped pretty hard week to week. That kind of gives me feelings that all the Nick Cage fans came out there first weekend, and that there wasn't much of a secondary audience for this movie. Which domestic total is a little bit over, in between. It's 13 and 14 million. It's basically at 16 million worldwide. I'm not sure what the budget of this movie is, but probably a very disappointing box office result for Lionsgate, in a movie that I, again, very much enjoyed. Any of these movies besides Memory and Father Stew, you can find the review of on my channel here. The only, movie debuting in the top 10 this week is Memory, the Liam Neeson flick, that came a little bit over $3 million. Again, it wasn't really much advertised. I think people who like Liam Neeson probably got an advertisement on YouTube or somewhere, or knew this movie was coming out. But this movie, it was right around where his average start, is between the $3 to $8 million openings. He hasn't really been much of a box office draw. So that's kind of where memory's at. Father Stu had a pretty good hold at 33.5%, making just over $2 million. Its domestic and worldwide run are about the same at 17 million. Um, Pretty solid for a family flick in some ways. It'll probably stick around number 9 or number 10 next week. Maybe it'll stay. Maybe it'll be able to have a good hold and beat off the unbearable weight of massive talent. We'll see. And Morbius, we almost had our first weekend of 2022 without a comic book movie in the top 10 because we had Spider-Man No Way Home from so long from last year holding over in the top 10 weekend to weekend. And then the Batman picked up from that. And Morbius saving the top 10 streak for comic book movies, coming in at number 10 at about a million and a half overall. A 35% drop, which for Morbius is a great thing, but this movie's in its 4th or 5th weekend. Its word of mouth is very not good. Its domestic total is not going to get close to 80 million, let alone 100 million. Worldwide total is not going to get to 200 million, so this movie isn't really breaking even in terms of what it's making in theaters. I'm sure it'll become net positive once it hit rental and streaming per se, but Morbius, again, number 10, holds on to the comic book movie being in the top 10 so far all of 2022. It'll be safe as we see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness come in next weekend and top this chart. It'll be interesting to see how much it makes, but that's kind of the top 10 for the weekend overall. There isn't much to say besides the fact that some movies like Sonic 2 and The Bad Guys held very well. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent had an amazing growth in terms of box office week to week, showing how strong that movie is and how popular that movie is for people. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent and The Northmen had big 40% plus drops that show that they kind of released at the same time in a very bad way. Lost City held very, very strong in its about 6th weekend. And Memory, again, did very, very well for Liam Neeson. No advertisement movie that opened up exactly where you think it would at $3 million overall. Now, I added 2 charts this week. The first one we're going to go over, it's not even a chart, just a list, is the top 10 domestic movies of 2022. To be on this list, I'm not including any 2021 releases, so I'm sorry, Sing 2 and No Way Home. I know you made a lot of money in 2022, but I want to keep this separate to movies that only came out this year. As well as I added a worldwide box office chart after this that goes over the yearly stats. Again, movies that only released in 2022. And we'll see that, while there will be a lot of notable movies in the domestic top 10, in the international one, it took me a while, but I finally found a good website that reports Chinese box office numbers, and you'll see just how strong the Chinese box office is. And I'll point out what movies did or didn't get, really didn't get any release type factor in the Chinese box office that could have had a much bigger draw overall. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the domestic top 10 of the year so far. No surprise, the Batman is miles ahead of everybody else with about $370 million domestic box office total. It just came out on HBO Max recently, so it's a movie that isn't really going to get too much higher than this. It might get up to 370. I don't see it getting close to 400 million domestically here, but a really strong showing from the new version of Batman by Matt Reeves. That is one of the biggest box offices for Batman's domestically in recent years, not just recent years, of all time. The domestic audience really, really connected to it per se, and it had a really strong run of about 3 to 4 weeks here in North America before it came out on HBO Max. A 45 release decision that I think does cut its domestic total probably by about 30 million. It probably would have got 40 million if it didn't come out on HBO Max. But either way, a very strong showing. Number 2, a movie that we talked about earlier having a very good hold, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. This has been a family film that people have been very happily surprised by. It's had really good holds week to week to week. And it's coming in now number 2 while it's still in the middle part of its box office run. I definitely think we're going to start seeing it trend more downhill. 175 million to 190 million is kind of where I think it's going to cap out domestically. I don't see it getting to 200 million domestically total, and it's probably going to be its last weekend at holding that second spot. But a very good showing for Sonic 2, and it's making a play to maybe be a top 10 movie overall domestically for box office films. We'll see how long it holds overall, but, again, a very solid film from Paramount. Um, Happily in the top 10 right now, boasting really good family numbers and very good holds. A really good feel good story. Again, Sonic 1 did very well in 2020, pre pandemic. Sonic 2022, as the pandemic is hopefully ending, is doing pretty well overall, too. Uh, Number 3 is Uncharted. Tom Holland, coming off of his very big success in No Way Home, took another video game franchise like Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Uncharted, to a pretty solid 146 million domestically. This movie is not one I personally enjoyed, but I think the fact that it's done so well domestic, and we'll see how it did worldwide later on, this has been a pretty successful movie for Sony, and I'm definitely imagining we're going to see Uncharted 2 announced and released in the next 2 or 3 years at minimum. It comes in, it won't make any more money. It's 146 million, so it just missed out on the 150. But I think for what the quality of this movie was, and kind of the audience it was maybe targeting, I think this was a pretty good overall domestic total for Uncharted. At 4 and 5, we have two Paramount Pictures films going right there with Sonic. Again, Paramount came out strong to begin the year with The Lost City and Scream 5. Lost City still making money week to week, making about $3 million in the box office this weekend, trying to go towards that $100 million flick. Will it get there? We'll see. It had a very strong word of mouth opening. It was a very funny film with Sandra Bullock. I'm not surprised to see it at number 4. Number 5, Scream 5 was really, really great to start the year, kind of opposite No Way Home. Very fun, meta-style horror movie. Again, it did very, very well here domestically for a low-budgeted film. Scream 5 was a huge hit and definitely means the franchise is going to see more coming through, and I'm excited for that. Number 6 and number 7 are kind of the same story with a little bit of a more positive spin for Dumbledore, which is The Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore and Morbius. These are two movies that want to be bigger than they are. They want to be closer to the Uncharted territory in terms of box office amounts. Morbius is kind of done with its run. Secrets of Dumbledore can probably push 100 million. I don't think it will. I think its cap is going to be around 95 million total. It's going to try and get up to number 4, that Lost City amount. It'll pass Scream next week, I'm pretty sure. But in both of these films did not connect with their audiences as much as they hoped. Didn't have the best word of mouth, and as such, they're definitely a lot lower in the charts than I thought they would have been, and where they want to be for the top domestic films so far this year. And the final 3 films, Dog, Jackass Forever, and Death on the Nile, a lot of these are going to be probably the last weekend or last 2 weekends we see of them. Dog, again, was another Channing Tatum movie. He's in there for Lost City. He's in here for Dog. Good little family heart film, very quiet, not a high budget, so it's made its money back and more. Jackass Forever, kind of the same story, niche style film. I see it getting passed up next week by the bad guys, and obviously Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and then Death on the Nile being that murder mystery movie that, Fox finally released after so many years. It's done decently well for itself, but it's definitely been something that has picked up a lot more on Disney Plus or HBO Max with streaming. These movies aren't going to last very much longer. Same with Morbius. I don't see those 4 movies being in the top 10 list by the end of May. At least definitely through June. They'll definitely not be here. But you know what? Early in the season, got to give them some love being on this top 10 list. We'll see how it shapes out in the weeks to come. And where is Doctor Strange going to come out on this? Is it going to be able to unseat Sonic as number 2? Obviously, it's not going to get the Batman's total in one weekend. That'd be insane. That'd be box office breaking, even beating Endgame. But I definitely think we're going to see it be above Uncharted. And the question is Sonic 2 going to hold on to the number 2 spot next week? or is Doctor Strange 2 going to come in at number 2 overall with its opening weekend? Um, but yeah, that's kind of the domestic result. What we see here is Paramount doing very well domestically. We see the Batman and Warner Brothers really do strong in that area, but also Warner Brothers fall behind in Fantastic Beasts overall. Um, and Uncharted, Sony with Tom Holland having a solid little hit there. That's kind of the domestic film look. Now let's talk about the worldwide look and get an idea of how these movies did across the world, not just here in North America. And the Batman holds the number one spot worldwide, having about a similar worldwide run as it did here domestically, having a total of about $760 million. I think this will grow a little bit more. I think this one's going to be closer to 775. Maybe I don't know if it's going to flirt with 800 million. I don't know, but it had a very successful worldwide run. Not in China, unfortunately. Batman has never been the biggest hit in China. Whereas we see here with 4 Chinese movies in the top 10 worldwide, that there's definitely a big box office audience for China. But it didn't happen for the Batman. And it hasn't really happened for many North American movies of late. We know they've been holding out on Disney flicks, especially the Marvel movies. I don't think we're going to see Doctor Strange released in China. We haven't seen a Marvel movie released in China since pre-pandemic. I know they've casted some stars and they've casted some directors that have had very negative things to say about China for some pretty obvious reasons. So I don't know if the MCU is ever going to get back into China. Will they need that to hit some of their highest totals? No Way Home didn't, but all the other Marvel films last year didn't have the biggest box office total overall. Granted, it was in a pandemic, but we'll see if Doctor Strange can unseat the Batman in a worldwide total here in a few weeks. But the Batman holds number one. The Battle of Lake Chinjin for China is the second big global hit of the year. At number 2, this movie was a top chart last year with its first model. So coming out in Chinese New Year, it had a pretty solid overall result here too, showing the Chinese box office can support it by itself a $600 million film, where domestically Batman only got about $300 million. So it shows you the power of the Chinese box office, that both the two movies here, Too Cool to Kill in the Battle of Lake Changjin, had better domestic results in their home country and in territory than the Batman did. Granted, that's to be expected with the population of China, but that's why you're seeing so many Hollywood studios make small changes to their films or plan films that are going to release in China because the box office is so big. As we see here, Too Cool to Chill, holding that number 3 spot barely above Uncharted with about just under 400 million. Same thing with Uncharted. They're going to be coming up against the Fantastic Beasts: Secrets of Dumbledore. Will be interesting to see if the worldwide opening for Doctor Strange is big enough to get into the top 3 or top 5. But, we'll see if Sonic or Fantastic Beasts can catch Uncharted or Too Cool to Kill. The Nice View, another Chinese movie, comes in number 7 at a little bit over 200 million. Morbius has that $161 million international run. AKA another Chinese film, a little bit under 150 million. And Scream 5, boasting a 138 million worldwide box office. Pretty good for that small movie overall. And showing it didn't just have a domestic audience, it had a worldwide audience, something that The Lost City wasn't able to do overall, as well as Scream 5. But kind of looking at the top 10 here, you're going to see anything that's 6 and above. That's, they're going to be fighting to hold their spots in the top 10 overall. I don't think Nice View, Morbius, aka or Scream 5 are going to last here very much longer. Obviously, Doctor Strange 2 comes out next weekend. I really see that movie fighting in that top 5, looking for that top, 3 spot. How long will the Batman hold number 1 is going to be the big story of this year. Are we going to see any $1 billion movies? Last year, we only saw No Way Home, which ended up, flirting with $2 billion worldwide. Will we see any $1 billion here soon? And will Doctor Strange, after a few weeks, be able to take out the Batman as a top film of 2022 worldwide and domestic? That's what we'll see. But yeah, that's kind of the charts. These are going to be kind of things we'll come back and look at and see what stays and what goes. Um, we're hitting the point in the new year where this is officially the last weekend before I'd say summer box office movie season starts. I know May isn't technically a summer box office movie, but I feel like the tentpole Marvel movie comes out at the end of April, beginning of May every year. And from there on out, we get blockbuster after blockbuster after blockbuster. We have movies coming out like Doctor Strange 2, Top Gun Maverick, Jurassic World, Thor Love and Thunder, um, a lot of great movies coming out this summer, and those are just four I named off the top of my head. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming out, and we'll see where the box office goes from there, and see how both the weekend box office holds up, as well as how do we see this worldwide and domestic top 10 working out as we go. Like I said, future weeks, I kind of want to do it this week a little bit. I'll do an informal one right here, but I think Doctor Strange is going to be pushing about $210 million domestically. I'll say it's going to be pushing $600 million worldwide opening weekend. I think Marvel has done a really good release model for this film. I think a lot of people want to go to it after No Way Home um, and the multiverse style storyline. Disney's going to be showing Avatar 2's trailer in front of it. I think that's going to bring in just enough to push it over the $200 million domestically. I think it's going to have a pretty big opening weekend overall. And in the future, when I get big releases, I'm going to have a separate slide talking about what's coming out next weekend. And that'll probably be in an addition either next weekend or the week after. But yeah, that's my box office report. If you like this video, please give a like. I know a lot of people have been watching some of the videos and haven't been subscribed yet, so I ask, hey, if you are enjoying these videos and if you are a returning viewer, please give us a subscription. I'm not stopping the content here anytime soon. In fact, I think I'm going to give a Moonlight review this week, a Halo in a couple weeks once that series ends. We have Stranger Things coming up. That'll be another TV series review I'll do, and more. So please give a subscription here if you like the content that you get. Put a like, leave a comment below. I'm really having a fun talking about movies and TV shows in different ways. I did a collaboration with a channel, Mr. Flixer, that'll be coming out this week, where we're going to be talking about the top 5 Star Wars movies that we like on May the 4th. I think I'm going to do another one with him where we're talking about our top 5 movies, at the end of April of the year so far. Shout out to him and his channel. But yeah, I've been enjoying talking about movies. I've been enjoying seeing, other people kind of communicate that through comments and likes and views. And we'll see where this goes. I'm excited. I'm happy. And it's been a really good start to the year for movies. So as we move on to the next section of the year, I'm excited to see where it goes. But thank you for watching again. Again, like I said, leave a like or a subscription. If you haven't seen a movie this weekend like me, are you going to go see Doctor Strange next weekend as well? And if you are, how many times are you going to go and see it? Either way, have a good weekend, have a good evening, have a good day, have a good night, wherever you are. Stay safe, and I can't wait to see you again in the future. Bye.